It's great to have the Americans on KEXP Seattle.
With a hole in my pocket and my hair correct, holy horseshoe hanging down, ain't about the luck that you'd expect. I left you sleeping and went to town. In the valley for a weekend trip, where your money slips away. While I got a stake in it, you can bet I'm always game. I never was a fan of the quiet life. Shaking in my hands is a paradise. Bet more credit when there's credit due. Many a time I've seen them through. Many a time you let it slide, but I still let it ride. Won you over with a first impression. Didn't read the writing on the wall. Cast a glance in my direction, babe, but now you see nothing at all. Driving back with the rising sun, radio playing nothing new. AC blowing, and I know by now I'm always gonna feel the way I do. You didn't come home when you said you would. Last night losing is in your blood. Bet more credit when there's credit due. Many a time I set 'em through. Many a time you let it slide. Come back begging, but it's nothing new. Rise from the dead when I get it right. But this time I'll let it ride.
All right, the Americans on KEXP in Seattle, Roadhouse Radio.
Oh, my sore-hearted darling, no way of telling how long you'd be mine. Days slipped by like hours, bent over backwards for the love in your eyes. I'm awake but dream talking. Life's busy pleasures are distant from me. As the roads you're out walking, I'm just as lonesome as I feared I would be. Hurry on home. I'll be yours still. Awake by the phone. for the same expressions all day. Out on the front porch rocking, we watch the stars chase daylight away. It's a cold war for us at home. She won a Bronze Star for heroism. They sent her back home. Not so long, and I'll be home before you notice I'm gone. Have you any word? Is the cause for alarm? When will she come running back in my arms? It's an old war for the brave and alert. She wore a Bronze Star pinned to her shirt. Beneath the dirt.
The Americans on KEXP-FM Seattle, Roadhouse Radio, that song Bronze Star, and the first song Nevada from the new unnamed record recorded by the Americans coming out soon. Good to have you, Patrick.
Great to be here. Thanks, Ray.
Tim's on drums, and Jake is on bass, and Zach is on guitar. Patrick, we've been talking a little bit before you got here. It's finally great to have you here.
It's great to be here.
You just finished the record.
Yeah, just maybe a few days ago.
And you came up here.
Came right up.
Well, it's good to have you. What's going to be the name of this record?
Well, we haven't even had time to talk about it. We've been spending every hour mixing before we head it up. But a few things floating around, but nothing.
There's not a whole lot of recordings by the Americans out there. There's the home recordings. Record was the really only full record. There's an EP before that.
Yeah, we spent a long time on this one.
Yeah.
A lot of songs.
So where do you guys come from? How did the band evolve?
I grew up in San Francisco, and Jake, the bass player, and I have known each other basically since we were born. Our parents were friends, but he grew up in Los Angeles, so we didn't see a whole lot of each other. And when we ran into each other in high school, we didn't remember each other or anything, but we were told that we were friends as kids, and we had the same taste in music. We liked all the same stuff, which for me was kind of extraordinary because I didn't know anybody who had the same taste in music, which mainly was just starting to be 20s and 30s, country blues, string band music, jug bands, field recordings, everything in that category. And so Jake and I almost sort of competitively started learning about that music together. I ended up moving down to L.A., and through Jake I met Zach, a guitar player, Tim on drums. We've known each other all a long time now.
Yeah, you sound great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. You know, there's a quote I want to read here. It's from T-Bone Burnett. He says something that I totally agree with. He says, "You guys are part of a group of 21st century musicians who are reinventing American heritage music for this century, and it sounds even better this century." That's a pretty nice quote.
Yeah, that's a nice thing to say. We spent a lot of time listening to that old stuff, and I guess in the back of my head, back when I was just playing alone for a long time, and back then when it was sort of just all I wanted to do was play like those old guys, and I wasn't even interested in writing my own songs as much, or when I did, I was dissatisfied because they didn't sound like the old stuff.
Yeah.
I had this idea that wouldn't it be interesting if a band was playing modern music? It wasn't trying to recreate something from the past, but everybody felt the same way about that old stuff the way I did, where it was just this kind of special glowing thing.
And I think that's what T-Bone's kind of getting at there with that quote, and pretty much what the show I do is the same thing. We're not, playing music of people trying to really sort of copy anything or anybody, but just doing their own thing based on an inspiration from something previous.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you get the name The Americans? How do you...
Jay came up with it, and well, the way I like to think of it is there's a photographer still alive, Robert Frank, and a long time ago he took a bunch of photos around the United States, which was a new country for him. And what I think sets those photos apart, and sort of what I also think is interesting in general, examining anything, is that there wasn't a whole lot of commentary in them. There were a lot of facts. He sort of set out he made a frame and he showed you what was happening and all these different kinds of people, right when the country was still kind of moving around and you had all these different secluded groups of people living entirely different lives. But it wasn't a political statement. There was nothing about rich or poor. It was just about these people's lives.
And it left it open to interpretation.
Yeah.
And didn't he shoot that great photograph of the new Velocity Ramblers in the car, I think?
Is that right?
The famous photo of them through the windshield of the
car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm interested in the same things in songs that sort of examine things without involving myself too much in them.
Yeah. Well, congrats on the new record. I'm assuming all these are going to be from the new album, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, all of them.
Let's hear one more. This is The Americans. They're on KEXP in Seattle.
This one's called I'll Be Yours. Pleased to meet you, mister, he said softly after he caught your eye. You took a sip of the corners of your lips, turned up upon his reply. Sometime on that evening, took your hand and led you from the floor. Was it pleasure, was it grieving, that bound me wrapped and seething by your door? Your heart beat boldly, like mission bells. My head was exploding, alone with the kiss and tell. You sing me to sleep at night, wake me with a sharp bite. Every morning you cry our love hasn't been squandered. Hold on a little longer, I'll be yours. And their names and the places where they've been all recognized. I will stand beside them, I will learn the things they've come to know. They're just as you described them, you and I can never be alone. I watched your tongue slip across your lips. I had my heart set, I had no control of it. It was all in a moment. Your body unburdened. Later on you would turn to me and say, sit near me. You sing me to sleep at night, wake me with a sharp bite every morning. Cry our love hasn't been squandered. Hold on a little longer, and I'll be yours. Waiting on another lonely evening for you, I just can't be still. The crickets chirp, the walls stir, there's no part of me not aching for a thrill. I could spend a lifetime of empty hours gazing at the wall. If it could be like old times, we wouldn't have to go nowhere at all. It felt like all evening I held your body breathing, so that I was still wide awake when you said I must be leaving. You sing me to sleep at night, wake me with a sharp bite every morning. You cry out loud, hasn't been squandered. Hold on a little longer, and I'll be yours. And it's the only tune I'm humming. If it's long in coming, I don't mind. You ask me, how am I doing? Everything is ruined, and I say fine. You ask me, how am I doing? Ask me like I'm stupid, and I say fine.
The Americans in the Roadhouse on KEXP. That song, I'll Be Yours, from the soon-to-be-released new record by the band. Do you know when that record's going to come out, Patrick?
We're not sure yet. Soon to be released, soon to be named.
Yeah. Just finished record as of last week. Sounds great. There's quite a few weathered instruments in this room.
Oh yeah, it sort of worked out that way. We they don't serve us all that well all the time. Go out of tune a lot and everything, but
I bet the organ has some stories.
Yeah, actually, a very recent one. We recorded a pump organ on the band on the new album, and it's Jake's old pump organ, and we just like the sound of it. Sometimes we do weird things to it, like run it into an old tube amp or something. It just has a really nice natural sound, but we couldn't bring it up. We didn't have room in the car we started with, and we were driving up and we were thinking about this show and thinking how much better it would be if we had the pump organ like we do on the album. So we started poking around, and we found a guy selling one on Craigslist. And I called him up, this guy named Justin, and we stopped off, and he just gave it to us.
Wow.
And these things never work, but this thing completely worked. It was in tune.
Yeah.
So thanks, Justin. He likes your show. That's why he gave it to us.
Between L.A. and here, you found an organ. Is that what you're saying?
San Francisco and here, we picked up
Wow.
a pump organ. Yeah.
Nice. That's a beauty.
Yeah, it's really
That's
nice. They
amazing.
used to be real popular a long time ago.
Yeah. So what is it about old gear that attracts you guys?
I don't know. I've never. It's not so much that I went out of my way to find old gear. It's just I love the way that stuff sounds. I couldn't really explain it. It's just each instrument has its own special thing when it's had some time. Especially old guitars.
Yeah. So Patrick, you're also involved, and the band is in this amazing new show. It's a PBS BBC joint venture, 4-hour. What do you call it? A documentary about
Yeah,
American music. It's called American Epic. It's going to be coming out, I think, probably early next year.
Yeah, it's a documentary series, and it came along. We did our work for it quite a bit ago, but it was a funny thing. It came along, and it was sort of it was a project about sort of exactly the thing we're all most interested in about that time period. It was this first time that record labels set out and recorded people who, by their standard, wouldn't have been considered professional musicians, which means that before then, everything we think of as popular music was very refined and, in a way, predictable. It was opera singers, pop singers, that sort of thing. None of that, everything we know today about singer-songwriters or rock bands or anything like that, that whole culture didn't exist until this happened. And competing with the rise of radio, kind of like today, competing the way record labels are competing with internet, folks set out, and their A&R guys and engineers set out around the countryside and just had enough sort of technological advances that they could make this equipment work, even in the sweltering, southern weather. And they recorded these people, and what they didn't know is that they would become stars. They thought that this would be, marketed back kind of condescendingly to the same communities that these people came from, and instead they became the first singer-songwriters, the first stars.
Right.
And everything accelerated after that.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. There's some really heavy people behind it as in terms of producers. Jack White's a producer, Robert Redford's a producer, T-Bone Burnett's a producer. A lot of good people are involved.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it myself.
And you guys are in it as a band. You play in it.
That's how we got involved. Yeah, because the director was looking for a band that was a modern band but that could play old time stuff, which is, again, it's how we all met. So playing string band music, banjo fiddle music, that kind of thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
This is the Americans. You guys sound great. Can't wait for the new record to come out probably next year, I would imagine.
Thank
right?
you.
But we get getting the first glimpse of it here on the show, so I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah.
How about one last song?
Yeah, let's do it.
This is the Americans on KEXP.
This one's called Stowaway.
Out of letter way, sticking on the thing.
Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.